Okay, all right.
Hi,
So
Duke.
we are here live, and in just a moment, we will have our founder, Duke, do the opening. But he's currently speaking, and that's the magic about having a live show.
Yep.
And because he's very tunnel vision, he did. We are currently live. Okay, and do your wonderful opening. You guys just hold on just a second. And we're gonna cue up our theme song because we can't start the show without our theme
Without
music.
Duke, we can't start the show. That's true.
Absolutely. The magic of live.
Mhm.
And here we go.
Welcome to Community Cuts, live from Brooklyn, New York. At SALON LEAHING, 732 Washington Avenue. Every Friday we have a live show. We're going to be getting into different topics throughout the show. Please stay tuned and play back and eat some popcorn. Enjoy some popcorn and just chill. We're here. Donnatella C.
Hello.
Ricky James.
Peace.
That's my brother from another mother.
Mhm. Hello, I am Ricky James. I am here to reach out and touch the community on the topics that are vital to this community, Crown Heights. I'm from Clinton Hills. I've seen what violence can do to a community. Crown Heights is one of my treasured communities because they had the best, the most current basketball players in besides Bed-Stuy. I wish to start on the topic of crime in Crown Heights, the gun violence. It has to be checked. Donald Trump is going to his bag of goodies to tell us he's gonna take over Brooklyn and part of Manhattan and prevent crime from happening altogether and people coming out into the streets altogether. The federal agents will be everywhere. And that ICE, there are federal agents, National Guard.
Wow. That is a heavy place to start the show.
Donatella.
I first of all, the small business that unfortunately was the place of violence, I believe it was Taste of the City Lounge in
Mhm.
Crown Heights. My understanding is there were a total of 14 people who were harmed, 3 fatalities, and of one of those fatalities was a innocent bystander,
Yep.
an Uber driver,
Yep.
Mr. Diallo, who was simply trying to earn a living and provide for himself, and I imagine, a father. Interestingly enough, I've actually supported that small business. I'm a resident in New York. It is I believe, Haitian-owned lounge. It is great. The idea that you can be in a small business establishment and there be an active shooter, not only one active shooter, but I believe they said there were possibly 4 or 5.
A gang's there. Complete gang.
Um, I wasn't there, but I do know that they have associated the violence to rival gangs. Um, and regardless of who they were or how they are labeled, the thought of being inside an establishment, having a good time, I think it was, on a Saturday night, and come that close to death, right? Whether
Yeah.
you were a person who was harmed, I believe everyone there probably has a certain amount of trauma,
Yeah,
right? I would imagine they
and
saw their
trauma is hard to recover from.
especially in a community that doesn't support therapy.
Yeah,
Right, and I won't say that overall the Black and brown community doesn't support it, but I think for many years, um, we're taught we come from strong people, and no
yep,
matter what we're enduring, get up and continue,
yep,
right? That is what we learn going all the way back to slavery and beyond. However, we now live in a time where mental healthiness, mental wellness
yep.
is a topic. We're fortunate enough to have a sitting mayor and acting governor and our current other officials who support, mental wellness, as well as I think overall, all of our officials would like to see, um, violent crime increase, which I believe statistically, crime has dropped under our current mayor and
Yes, it
police
has.
commissioner.
It has.
But all it takes is one instance of violence to, you know, um, really kind of bring the message home. I do have one thing I want to say, and this is my opinion and not necessarily the opinion of the platform I'm on or the other people who are here. I have this unprofessional thought that in communities where you're taught the streets don't snitch or don't tell on people, I think that a lot of the people who are committing these crimes, whether they're violent or whatever is petty, a petty crime, are repeat offenders. And because people don't tell who's doing something, it's possible or viable that these active shooters have killed other people, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so I wanna urge my neighbors, my constituents, we no longer live in a time where, there's what's that saying? Snitches get stitches or whatever, right? I think it is our civic duty to help our neighbors because everybody's okay with not saying anything until it hits their door.
Remember the mafia used to give you the mark of the snitcher?
Oh, really?
A scar on behind your ear,
Oh.
mark of a snitcher.
Well, I've met quite a few people in Brooklyn that have a mark, um, I think
Yeah.
they call it the
Mm.
clothesline
Yeah,
where
yeah, yeah.
which I think is an act of a violent crime, but not necessarily meaning that that person snitched. Regardless, my message is that in order to protect our present and our future, the community needs to take a different stance on how we treat, these violent offenders. Like, I think a lot of people were rooting for our current sitting president when he said he was going to stop all the violent criminals, right?
Mhm.
These these so-called immigrants that are doing all these different things, and yet and still here we are more than 100 days into his administration, and the only people I really see getting arrested are those delivery drivers, people going
Mexicans,
to their
Mexicans, yeah.
regular, immigration meetings, and it's not just Mexicans. You have Mexicans, Venezuelans, you have
Yeah.
Caribbeans, you have anybody who currently has an immigration appointment or a doctor appointment. I see people taking from the doctor's
Yep,
office
yep.
as well. But I'm wondering, um, our founder who's hardly ever in front of the camera, I'd like Duke to chime in and let us know, how do you feel about the violence currently in our community?
Well, it's a lot, and it is, no, it's troublesome, and we don't want to see our children killed or other people that's stand by us and get hurt. At the end of the day, they're still our family. Ones that got hurt, the ones that did the shooting, they still belong to our community. And so it pains me to see that happen in our community. And so we know that that has to be corrected. And it takes the political leaders to do something as well.
Are you saying what Trump is doing is something that Washington should be done in New York?
No, I'm not saying. what I'm
Yeah,
saying, yeah,
that's
yeah, I'm not,
extreme.
yeah, I'm saying, as a matter of fact, what I'm thinking about is that we, the people of the community, the elders like myself,
Mhm.
should come up, step up, and lasso our community. What I mean is bring them in, and you bring them in through
Mm.
not trying to put them down, but you bring them in through
Right.
love.
Can I jump in just for a second since you brought up what Trump is doing in DC? So I grew up in Columbia, Maryland, before the DMV was called the DMV, and I just wanna, um, bring up a point that the DC mayor indicated, right? So, um, the sitting local officials did not ask Trump for his assistance. And as a matter of fact, when he waged war on the 13 and 14-year-olds within the DC area, um, it was told to him that the services of the National Guard and federal agents were not needed. As a matter of fact, from what I've seen, they too in DC are not policing criminals, but literally walking up to young men of color, black, brown, whatever, and harassing them, also
Oh,
delivery workers. So I did not know that there was a statement, I've been offline a bit this week from Trump about coming into New York City
yeah.
with National Guard and federal agents. I
Washington, D.C. has the right to carry law in D.C., and you can garnish yourself with a gun and walk out in public. Is that correct? Maybe I could be
no,
wrong.
I don't think that's you're talking about local citizens?
Yes.
I don't it's you mean like an open carry state?
Mhm.
I
I
don't know
haven't heard
anything
that.
about that. I don't think
I've
so.
seen them in Washington walking around with open citizens.
Police officer?
No, citizens. I've seen them.
I don't know. I think maybe, when we're on another topic, I'll go to Google and
Look it up.
look. Yeah, because
You do
that would
that.
be new to me. I don't recall ever seeing that except for when you have, like, yeah, just the police.
Mhm.
I know a few people that if they could have guns and walk in the open like a cowboy, they
Yep,
would
they
have
would
them.
do that all right away.
But,
Yep, yep, yep.
I think bringing it back, I don't know if we can just skip to a topic, because we're talking about the local officials and the violence. Did you want to segue for a second to talk about your event that's coming up? Because I think that's an excellent opportunity for people to reach out to you and present. And I have to tell you, it's heavy on my mind after listening to Kathryn's show today, Heart of Mine, what it's called. Kathryn doesn't have a mic and she doesn't come in front of the camera very much. But I have to tell you, after listening to her show today where Duke was a guest, I think Kathryn should also be doing audiobooks. You have a very great speaking voice, so to speak. But you could talk about the event that's coming up. Oh, you're welcome. See, she had to let you all hear that. Thank you.
Catherine, we love you. It was a great day for me as well. Your show and your platform. Well, the community cuts and got together with Billie Holiday Theater. We're teamed up to do a podcast there,
Mhm.
talking about we're asking for the candidates who are running for mayor and share their vision with us. So it's not a debate, it's a vision.
Mhm.
And so we believe, at least I believe that when you have a vision, we're talking about Proverbs 29, verse 18, where the word says, where there's no vision,
Mhm.
right? No vision, that means the people will perish,
Mm.
right?
That's
That's,
pretty heavy.
yeah, that's the word. That's 29, verse 8. Proverbs 29, verse 18. And so my thing is that I want them to get their vision, the leaders of who's going to be leading New York City, the mayor, next mayor for the next 4 years, to give us their vision. And if we can drill down into that vision and believe it and take it, yeah, we can back that person. But we have to know that vision because with a vision, it, you get hope. hope comes with a vision. With a vision, you get knowledge, and when you have knowledge, you get energy. The
Mhm.
energy behind that vision, especially for the people who want to drill down, will will sacrifice themselves to help that mayor to become a great mayor. So they have to give us their vision.
Yep.
Well, so for those of you who are just joining us, we're talking about an event that's coming up on September 4th. Would you like to tell them the name, how they can participate?
The Billy, excuse
So
me.
so there's Kathryn, who doesn't have a microphone, is
There you
doing
go.
is doing what I want to say, and she's inviting Duke to mobilize and come in front of the camera to deliver his message, but he's very comfortable in the director's chair.
So it's going to be at the iconic Billie Holiday Theater in Brooklyn, in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn.
Mhm,
And so we're going to be talking to a Bed-Stuy audience. We're going to be delivering that message, and it's going to be September 4th at 7 o'clock at the Billie Holiday Theater in Brooklyn. And so we're going to have Donnatella. She's the host there. Ricky's going to be there as well.
mhm,
And so it's a dynamic duel, and there's other people that's involved in this production, and it's live and it's from the heart. And so
mhm,
that's where we're standing on our square.
mhm,
That means we're standing on our truth. And we need the mayor to come out. Well, we need the candidates to come out
mhm.
and give us their vision.
And it's a bipartisan platform, right? So I am a little biased. I already know who I'm voting for. I'm not shy, and I want the current sitting Mayor Eric Adams to be reelected. But I said it's very important to hear the plan vision from all the candidates so you can be an educated voter. Now, here's the thing that Duke is leaving out. It will not be standing room, which means when the seats are occupied, they're occupied. And I do believe the iconic theater only has about 190 seats,
Correct.
right? So it's either going to be first come, first serve, or Duke's going to arrange for you to get a ticket online. I'm not sure yet, right?
Mhm.
But make sure that you find your way into the now, Duke. If people want to reach out to you besides YouTube, I think I heard you earlier this morning give out an email address where people can see emails. And we're giving out an email address because we're checking your level of commitment. Phone numbers would be really easy, but I don't need you guys calling Duke in the middle of the night, right? So he's going to give you his email address.
It's community cuts at 39 Gmail. Community cuts 39
Um,
gmail.com. Excuse me. Thank
yeah,
you.
you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm the tech nerd. So I think that's exciting. And that event happens on September 4th. And Duke, where are we going from now? I feel like there's so many things that happened since we last got together. Today, Ricky's a little hoarse because he's been out with the ladies, and I think, you know,
I don't know where I got it from. I got a frog in my throat, so
mhm,
it sounds raspy,
it does, it
pretty
does.
bad.
Whoever you're saying, but that's beside the point. Okay, so what do we talk about next?
Well, we're going to be talking about
I would like to discuss what Trump is doing with the civil rights law that President Johnson signs into law. He's ripping it up, cutting out the diversification of inclusion, the climate change issue, cutting that out. It is something that is on the table now for people to understand, and LGBTQI people understand it.
LGBTQ plus.
Plus
I don't know
I.
where there's an I.
Mhm.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
What
well,
does it stand
we're
for?
gonna let Ricky go ahead and do his thing.
I don't think there's an I.
Well,
I don't
undecided.
know, but
Well, I have quite a few friends that identify and clients as I don't want to say outside of male and female,
Yeah.
right? And so we want to make sure that people know while we are bipartisan, we are also, for every New Yorker, especially Brooklyn. We're a little biased since we're in Brooklyn, right? So what is the change that's happening with the civil?
Diversification in inclusion law is deep, does not have any financial backing to continue. Also, the climate change way of law, the environment
Mhm.
is out of funding also. So those two major issues are within side of our civil rights and our human rights. So the civil rights and human rights are faltering because of the fact that we do not have the funds to continue.
So I think it's interesting, and I'm gonna take that topic and run with it a little bit more, right? So, um, as a Black woman in tech, um, I have who also attended university. I attended several actually. One that I went to was Drexel, and I remember, um, some of the college students, when you'd be in class or maybe we'd be in the cafeteria, I remember hearing one non-Black brown person say that, they thought a lot of the Black and brown students attending the university were there because of, government funding. I didn't qualify. I had a $500 Perkins loan, and that was it.
Oh,
My mother, who probably wants to kick my butt because I did not stay and get my degree, but my mother paid for my, education, and while you talk about, defunding DEI, it brings me to a topic that I was speaking to Duke about earlier. So, with diversity, equity, and inclusion and this current administration, the minute that this administration took over, that was one of the things that they really worked through very quickly to
yes,
gut
yes.
it, right? I wanna tie that to small businesses, for just a moment because there's something that's, super heavy on my heart. I don't know if you remember during the pandemic, um, there were different types of funds that were made available for small business owners, right? So there was the PPP, which was the Payroll Protection Program, and then there was the EIDLs, and those were loans offered by the Small Business Administration to assist small businesses, whether you had a brick and mortar or you were a stay-at-home, person, if you were a brand, if you had a LLC corporation or you were a sole proprietor, you could qualify for these loans. And those loans were typically based on how much, money your business made in prior years, that was submitted through tax returns. And on an average, you could qualify for, I think it was like 2.5 times the amount of your annual earnings. And so during the pandemic, there were a lot of small business owners who did the PPP. And I was discussing with some people earlier when we talked about the difference between forgivable, which a lot of people were running around saying, "Oh, there's free money." So it
Yeah,
wasn't free money. It meant you didn't have to pay it back, but it was all based on what you'd already contributed to the community, right? Or to the government. Well, of course, with every good deed, there's a bad deed, right? So there were people taking defunct businesses, regardless if they were LLCs, corporations. They were amending their tax returns and fraudulently applying for funding that they didn't deserve. And a lot of people got it, right? So one of the things that I want to bring to the attention of our congressmen, general, our senators, and our councils is what this new, and that's what they call themselves, the new SBA, is doing to harm our small businesses nationwide,
so
right?
that's something, that's something. The Small Business Administration does not, in this city, it does, but outside of the city of New York, Small Business Administration supports small business very, very vehement. They don't, um, kick them to the curb like they do in the city with SCORE and all that. The SCORE is just something that was in Brooklyn
Well,
has been made to
well, okay, we're talking about 2 different things. So
yeah.
SCORE is, what
I'm
I
just
would
saying
call
what they use now, it doesn't work for small businesses.
that are you talking about a credit score or the entity score?
The entity score, the
So
program.
I'm going to disagree with you
Yeah,
humbly.
I've been through it, so it's not, not a
Okay.
pleasing thing.
So, all right. So there's the great thing about America that should be is our freedom of speech, and we all have different experiences, right? Um, Before we talk about SCORE, which is an equivalent of a CDFI, I think it's a nonprofit actually, and they receive federal funding, and their sole purpose is to reach out into the 5 boroughs and assist with funding,
Small business,
training,
yes.
all types
They
of
never
things,
do.
right? Not
They
true.
never come out. They never come out
Not
that
true.
that often.
I love you, Ricky. Absolutely not true.
Have you ever can you name one single person in school that you actually know?
Yes, I can. And what you would be amazed to know is just this week I was on 3 webinars with SCORE.
Well, the issue SCORE was requested in 2005, I think it was, to
You're
come out and
Ricky. Okay. So I love you
the
so
love is
much,
always general,
right?
general, general.
But I'm going to say that I'm glad you said 2005. Let's set the record straight. In 2005, that entity, whatever it is they were required to do, they may not have been doing whatever it is they were doing
But the
then.
country was doing the small business thing, and SCORE was right there to ramp up what it is. It was
Yep.
something. It was embarrassing to the city of New York.
Oh my goodness.
It
For the
was.
entire city?
The city of New York.
All right, New York, you all have
You
heard how you
you
feel
well,
straight from Ricky. But I'm going to tell you imminently, right? And this is a great point, but I don't wanna miss the point that I was trying to make.
right.
SCORE is a separate entity. It's a nonprofit, not sure of the exact structure.
Mhm.
They receive federal funding, right? Federal funding,
And you
um
talk about when they're in the past, 2005,
I
and
can't speak about
then
2005
there's
'cause
no issue. No issue.
good. You'll be
Go
quiet,
right
right?
ahead.
There you go,
I know you're
right?
here.
We're like sisters and brothers. I'm about to tell your sister, I'm fine as you
Yeah.
are my brother, right? Okay, so as I was to say, um, I wanna make sure that we tie off the SCORE topic to say that right now, SCORE is one of the largest contributors in New York City, in the 5 boroughs, that provides, excellent mentorship. They provide, actually all this just about all the services I do under my umbrella for My Hungry World, SCORE does as well, right? I may do it a little bit better, but I'm
There you
biased,
go.
right? But
You are.
I'm biased, and it's a different topic. But I wanna make sure that we bring attention to what I'm trying to talk about in terms of the new SBA, the COVID EIDLs, and the PPP. So people who received the PPP, which was the Payroll Protection Program, a vast majority of them had whatever dollar amount they received forgiven. A lot of people did not. So when you received that funding, it was only forgiven if you completed a two-step process. And education and knowledge is everything. So there are people today who received PPP, it was not forgiven, and now they have a debt that's been turned over to the Treasury, right? Now let's talk about the COVID EIDL. I have the permission. I work with NDAs, but I have the permission of 2 of my clients to use them without giving their name as a perfect example. So, earlier when I first joined this platform, I explained that in April, I received an award from the Reset Talk Show for generating $4.3 million in funding for my small business clients. 2 of my clients received a $500,000 in COVID EIDL. That's a loan. So depending on when you received your EIDL during the pandemic, everyone was given the opportunity to have a 34 to 40-month deferred repayment because the economy was in shambles, right? So imagine you received $500,000. In one instance, one of my clients, when I met them, they initially started their business in the end of 2019, didn't open until the beginning of 2020. But as you remember, COVID started in March, right? Imagine being a restaurant that opens during COVID.
Yeah.
You haven't applied for your liquor license. You haven't done a lot of things. They didn't actually receive their liquor license from New York State until the beginning, I want to say, was in 2023. Now imagine the entire COVID with a restaurant with no ability to serve beer, wine, cider, or liquor, right? And if you paid attention, liquor stores were open throughout the entire pandemic. They were made essential businesses. The reason why they were made essential businesses, imagine being locked in your house during the pandemic with someone who was an alcoholic or an
Mm.
abuser who drank alcohol. They wanted to make sure that you kept the numbers under wraps. So let's make sure those people get their alcohol. Believe it or not, that was a real reason, right? That were essential. You now had people who probably had domestic violence situations, could escape out to go to work or to shelters or whatever, but we had a stay in. Okay, so you receive a $500,000 loan. Now, with the 34 to 40-month repayment, right? Because under the Democratic Party, there was a strong push from small businesses nationwide to get the EIDLs forgiven. They couldn't get them forgiven initially, so they did the deferred payment, right? So now people started needing to repay their loans in 2023, but the economy was still kinda iffy, right? And in 2024, so they came up with something called the Hardship Accommodation Program,
Hardship,
right?
yeah.
And it was called HAP for short. So if you had a
Like HEAP. Remember HEAP?
yes, only it was HAP.
Remember when they started?
I am going to choke you in just a second on camera. That means I'll be guilty and it'll be premeditated because I said it first. So now, with HAP, the Hardship Accommodation Program, what that meant is you had another 24 to 30 months of decreased payments. So you have a $500,000 and you could enroll in HAP, and then at 6-month intervals, your repayment was only 10% of what your monthly amount was. So $500,000 in a loan, scheduled payments is supposed to be $2,500. During the deferment, if you accepted it, your loan still was accruing interest. So you have all that interest that's building
Mm.
over those 30 or so months, right? So my client applies for HAP, right? That's the service that I provide, right? Only needed to pay 10% monthly. So that's $250 a month. That's manageable in a still challenging economy. This current administration and what I don't hear anyone talking about, immediately in those first 100 days started taking out DEI, which were all of those extra grants that were being made by what's called a CDFI. Those are companies that New York State has delegated and says, "Hey, this company is approved to give out funding," right? Whether it's a loan, a grant, or so on, right? So they cut that. Then on March 19th, I only know this day really strikingly in my brain because it devastated so many of my clients. March 19th of 2025, this year, the current Small Business Administration cut HAP without any warning. So imagine you're someone who has these deferred payments, you're only paying
Is this
10%.
only in this city or
It's nationwide, and it's not
nationwide?
just Black and brown people. It is anybody who has an EIDL nationwide,
I know.
right? So now and, um, EIDLs were given to more than just minorities. It's anybody who had small
Anybody but
business, who had a
alright.
loan, right? So while you're looking at all the shuttered doors that you pass on the street, I want you to think about different things. So this is what they did. They cut off the HAP program and immediately started sending notifications to people saying, "Hey, you now need to pay your loan." So one of my clients who had the $500,000 loan, that now means out of nowhere, he now needs to pay $13,000. Not only did they cut off funding, but they created a new program that most people don't even know. So they give you a one-time ability to have a discounted payment for 6 months, and that's still at a 50% of what the company loan payment was. But the only way you can get it, if your loan was under 200,000, contact the SBA on the phone or through your portal, and they'll let you have it. If your loan is over
They are good
200,000,
people. SBA,
they
yeah, good
not the new
people.
ones,
Yeah, there you go.
not
Yes,
not the
with
new ones.
SCORE, yeah. SCORE has laid the groundwork They changed. They changed altogether.
They're not related. They're
Yeah.
2 separate entities.
They're in the office of
No, they're
SBA
not. No, not.
on
Okay,
the 24th floor.
so in 2005, do you bet they're not there today in
I ain't going
2025?
back there.
You guys, or you traumatized my Ricky. But let me just finish this topic out, right? So now you are a small business. You get this letter that says you now have to pay your loan in full, and then you try to get this 1 6 month um, ability for a discount. If your loan is over 200,000, you now have to supply a bunch of physical documents, financials like a profit loss statement, things of that nature to prove that whatever is slowing down your business is temporary, not permanent. And so what ends up happening if you don't get approved, they give you something like 10 days to pay all the amount of money that you owe or your loan goes into default.
Mm.
And this is literally kicking the ass, excuse my expression, of our Black and brown businesses, and I
Yep.
dare say any business that has an EIDL, right? Because we're now living in a time of tariff. So what cost you whatever in 2020, right, when the pandemic started, someone told me recently they went to buy a case of, I wanna say it was plantains, and it was $40. Right? One of my clients, they have the best steamed fish ever. Their fish sells for 35, 45, and 50. They have $100 snappers in this restaurant, right?
Oh,
But now you need to come up with $13,000 and then continue to pay your monthly amount. So what I think is strategic, I think and again, this is my opinion based on what I see. I think this administration is doing a land and wealth grab within Black and brown communities, weaponizing what they have available, right? So if our local council, our senators, I was just speaking to a director today at the New York State Liquor License Board, and I was explaining how I don't see this on anybody's radar. It's one of the questions that I want to formulate to put together for the September 4th event. What is New York State doing right now as candidates? What is their plan to save all of these struggling small businesses? Because if you walk past your favorite small business today, I don't care what time it is, you do not see the foot traffic that you used to see
right.
from clients, right? My own hairstylist, as you can see, is not seeing me, right? And that's the truth of it. And if we don't see something soon, I walked maybe 10 blocks on Flatbush, and I counted twice as many storefronts that were closed. And so that's just one of the things that I
Yeah.
wanted to bring to the attention in talking about, um, funding or defunding and what the DEI things are doing. And so the small business is the backbone. One of the things I'm doing this weekend, writing all these city officials, is you don't hear the large corporations complaining, right? Under this administration, the large corporations are the ones who are keeping all of their money, getting all these different kickbacks. And so they received SBA loans also in the millions, probably billions, depending on who it is. Like, I would love to know how much money did Apple get from COVID, right? Because you didn't have to have a loss in order to get the money. You just simply had to have a business, apply for the loan, and get approved. So these big corporations that are still making money, that got millions and millions of dollars, and if it's based on the, revenue that you took in, how much COVID EIDLs did, what's, Trump's, Elon Musk get,
Elon
right? So those are the questions, and I think, um if we can spend, it's my understanding currently that the administration is set to spend $47 million painting the wall black, right? To keep immigrants out. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Yes. So, this president has decided that a way to keep immigrants from climbing the wall is painted black because in those areas, hey, I don't know what's the lady's name. I don't know if it was Noam, which woman said it, but I watched it come out of her mouth. She said that our sitting president understands that in areas where the wall is very hot, if you paint the wall black, people won't climb it because it will be too hot. Does that sound ridiculous?
Yeah. I mean, the idea of roofing, they paint them white. It used to
Mhm.
be all black.
Mhm.
They paint the roofing tar
Mhm.
all white. It prevents it from getting hot. So maybe
Mm.
that's the idea where
Maybe
it
this
comes.
idea, but do you think a person who has walked hundreds of thousands of miles
No, they
to
would
freedom is gonna see a
they
black wall
wouldn't
and
do
say,
that.
"Oh dear gosh, that's too hot." And to further make it a little crazy, she said that they built enough fence underground that the people won't burrow
Borrow under.
underneath and go under the fence. That I kind of probably believe. I don't think anyone is digging underneath the wall. But, if I walked that far, I imagine I would try just about anything.
Yep.
So, that's my little spiel on the SBA.
All right, Donnatella, let me give you a job.
Give me a job? Does it pay?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Information certification
Information certification.
that you gave me.
Okay.
Uh,
I don't think that's what it was called, but
it was called certification, yes?
the authority. Oh, okay. Which certificate?
Certificate for minority businesses.
Okay, so we're speaking about minority certification, and you, as a man who is black and brown, you can have a minority certified business. You don't
Right,
have to be a woman.
right.
Yes.
That's, so the issue is I am going to turn you loose.
You're going to
Turn you
you're gonna
loose
turn me loose.
on a business to get it certified.
Okay, awesome. That's great. Hey. And so
Would you need a contract? Would you need
what
a
does it
site?
take for me
Yeah,
to
what does it take from me to get you to do that?
well, so when I first started here, said that the family of community cuts, if they wanted to get minority certification, I would give you a 50% discount on my regular service fee. That is your business, not your cousin's business, not your best friend's business. The best friend would have to pay a service fee. Now, I'm going to tell you, like we spoke about SCORE earlier, there are many, many places, people, and things that can help you um, achieve minority certification on a city or state level. Some of those are federally funded and they are free. Others have a price attached. And what's interesting, like anything, let's use a burger. You can decide to go to the grocery store, buy your own ground beef and your bread, and make your burgers at home.
Yeah,
Very, very affordable.
sure.
You can go to, let's say, a McDonald's, which isn't as affordable as it used to be, but still quite economical. And then there is a steakhouse. My small business happens to be a steakhouse, right? Because I I still have a service fee that I think is affordable for what is needed. So in order to work with this entity, they would have to either pay the service fee upfront or a reasonable retainer. I do work with some people because I know that it's kind of rough outside. So sometimes I'll say to people they need to make a 50% deposit in order for us to get started. And before the application is submitted to the state, they have to pay the balance.
Mhm.
But I have NDA with all of my clients, which works as a contract,
NDA, what?
a non-disclosure agreement, which means I protect your intellectual property. I won't share any of your secrets. You don't share any of mine. Please go ahead. Thank you. Hey, you guys know we're in a live salon where there are all types of services being delivered.
Oh, yeah, I was just saying,
Yep.
if I was to give you something before an NDA, NDL,
So a non-disclosure agreement. Anyone that I'm doing business with, I always a contract is signed, um, paid for service, and even a free service Before we exchange information that is considered personal or private, I usually do an NDA. Now, I know you are puzzled now because you call me every day, all day
Yep.
for free.
Yep.
And you have not signed an NDA.
Yep. So
But
you have to get that signed.
That is something that I have afforded you because you kind of remind me of my brothers. And like I said, I have adopted you. So the rest of you cannot try that. Don't call me at 6:00 in the morning or 5:30 the way that Ricky does whenever he feels like it. Isn't that right, Ricky?
Right.
And he doesn't see anything wrong with that. But yeah, normally it's an NDA, which is the equivalent of a signed contract. There's an exchange of several kind of onboarding emails because there's something like 35, 40 different documents that you need in order to get minority certification. And there are different types of minority certifications. You can even have your business be disadvantaged.
Branding, if this gentleman was to call you, would he need an NDL?
Not NDA.
NDA, go ahead.
To call me, no. So I will have up to 3 conversations with any entity without making them pay a service fee.
Right.
Because every time I open my mouth, there's $1 million deal that's coming out of it. Right. And you too, you as well. I think anyone who has knowledge about anything, whatever your niche is, in this day and age, especially when you don't have that old faithful corporate 9-to-5, you have to monetize your services. And mine happens to be information, right?
Very
in
good.
this instance.
So again, with this podcast, have you or will you sign an NDA?
With whom?
Duke?
With Duke? So if we were sharing personal, private, intellectual property type information as it pertains to community cuts, we should definitely have an NDA. If we are speaking live and freely about whatever enters our brain equally, we don't really have to have an NDA. What someone should have, being a guest host on this show and not being part of the foundation, you should probably have some sort of release, right? Because right now we're using our likeness. Suppose this YouTube video goes viral. You should have written agreements. Who owns the original content, right? Who is the point person?
If something goes wrong, if the contract goes wrong, if we are sued, if we are told that we cannot broadcast it any longer, these things have to come up in contract beforehand. Is that correct?
It can, but this is America. And unfortunately, one of the things that I'll be talking about in the future is I have a domestic violence situation in which the person is stalking me intellectually, right? So he has filed 37 civil suits across 6 different states. And so in America, you can sue for anything, absolutely anything. It is up to the individual being sued to show up and fight for their innocence. Just kind of like the idea of, the criminal community, right? Someone is alleged to have committed a crime. You're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. Although I think a vast majority of people have forgotten that. The minute you see something on social media that's being presented from NYPD, and I say NYPD because we're in New York, people automatically associate guilt. People forget that you still have a day in court, right?
You have a phone call.
Yeah, but and I think that's kind of bad now because since we live in a world of instant gratification and there's monetization tied behind it, every one of our news channels is immediately sharing their news instantly on social media, whether it is Instagram, Facebook, X, Twitch, Snapchat. It doesn't matter. And once that content gets out into the universe, it's very hard to erase your breadcrumbs, your likeness off the internet. And once you're accused of something, it is very hard to get that back. And that's why now I think defamation lawsuits are probably increased. And what's going to be worse to prove is original content, who owns things, who actually created it, especially with the use of AI. I feel like one week we need to talk about AI and all of these apps. You got like an app for everything now, but these apps are getting very smart. They're incorporating AI into it, as well as you're signing away your rights.
Intelligent licensing for the computer that you own. You should, all your computer networks and all the issues that you have should be licensed by and for you.
Well, even if they're licensed, I'll give an example. Right now, we're streaming live on YouTube. This is out in the universe, our likeness and our voice. Anyone with about as much knowledge in their pinky can now take our likeness and our voice from this video stream, wrap it into AI, and start creating content. It's going to be more challenging and difficult to determine the difference between AI and a real person and what they said. I mean,
Fake news.
Yeah. But and then there are people who are doing it maliciously. So I think it's been 3 or 5 years that people have been talking about virtual kidnapping.
Yeah.
Right. So that's when you take someone's voice or their likeness, you put it into AI, and then you reach out to someone who's a friend or family of that person, and you think that person is being harmed, and you're releasing money to them, and the person is somewhere in the movies minding their own business. We did have a question. Where did she go? One thing I like about being in Salon Leahing is that there are a bunch of brilliant minds that pass through here. And there is a stylist who works here who posed a question about real estate and a hot topic. And, we've talked about deed theft before. And there in Brooklyn, there's a huge outpouring of support and rage and anger over a gentleman who has lost his home, sold right underneath him, all because of a water bill. So I want to bring that up for two reasons. We were asked to, right? I think every homeowner should now check and see how much their water bill is. See if there's a water bill that exists that you don't know about it. My understanding is that this gentleman had a water bill that somehow wasn't paid and got moved into a category where he was no longer being alerted. And I think that is strategic. It is, you have real estate agents out there or realtors or whomever who know the system and they know how to steal homes for you. The thought that he was paying his current water bill, but there was a $5,000 water bill somewhere that has literally cost him his home is absolutely crazy. And the way that he found out, I believe he was sitting in his home when he saw someone on like his Ring camera or something changing the locks on his door while he was inside the house.
Oh boy.
And I think it was targeted, right? So that's happening to a lot of our seniors. And evidently he doesn't have a good grandson or granddaughter somewhere that he could call very quickly, or that person might have been in Kings County Hospital, right? So yeah, that's huge. So every homeowner in our listening ear, check your utilities for your house. Better yet, check your overdue taxes, because that's another way that people are able to purchase your home. Mm-hmm. And I believe, I'm not into real estate, but I do believe that if your home is placed in a trust, those types of things will protect your house from being stolen. So reach out to your local council member, your senators, your assembly members. There's funding, especially if you are an elder. We love our elders. Yep. And there are certain protections for seniors that, us young bucks who haven't gotten there yet, don't have access to.
That's great. I just wanted to answer an earlier question on the LGBTQ plus.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the I and the A is what the plus stands for. So it is. It stands. I'm looking. I did a search: gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and asexual, and others. So it
Ooh.
keeps the acronym keeps growing.
So that is amazing. We were both right at the same time. Well, I stand corrected. My partner here.
Yep.
I and A, and I don't want to say it the other way because then it sounds like AI. Intersected and A type. Asexual. And I've so I wasn't always a nice person. I'm an Aries and we say very creative things when we're mad at people. And I remember saying someone who's totally not in that community, but they were getting on my nerves so much. I remember saying a comment about their personality and using the term asexual. So it's nice to be educated. So thank you. Woo, this was a good show. Duke, do you have
I
anything
enjoyed
else?
your conversation. I enjoyed what you
Did you?
With discussion. It was
I feel like you're biased. You're my friend. It'd be interesting to hear what they think outside. Right?
Well, I'm sure the audience love this conversation. It's brilliant. Love it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I hit on many points that were pertinent to the outside world.
Yeah, everybody should go check on your favorite small business, whether it is a barber, a hair salon, a nail tech, a place that you get groceries. I think it is also important while you make sure you're registered to vote, you check with whoever it is you want to vote for. How are they supporting your community? Right? You hear people talking about education, affordable housing. I haven't heard a lot of vision, as you put it, for what is going to happen to save our small businesses, right? Not to mention the huge problem with deed theft and the manipulation of utility bills. And I think there was another thing I heard that this administration is trying to change some laws so that if you have a parent or a loved one, a relative that leaves their home to you in a will or whatever, that you're not able to claim it unless you can actually live in it. Right? So that would take that would be huge. And I think we should probably try to get a real estate expert, which I think we might have one here already, but we need someone to come on and talk about how this administration or under this administration, corporations are buying up so many homes, trying to make sure that everyone is a forever renter and not a homeowner. And the importance of programs like NACA that have first home owner buying opportunities. As I also believe under this administration, it's the first time that landlords have won the right to increase rent X amount of dollars. And so in a minute, we are going to have a civil war.
And I want to lay out some information for the older brothers, my age and a little younger, about the issue of SCORE. If you remember or do know where their office used to be inside of Brooklyn, SCORE, and what they did for us or what they did not do for us would be a helpful gain to the issues of people learning small businesses administration and opening up a business.
Okay, side note, you guys, SCORE is doing great things. Don't worry about what they did in 2005. Come out and meet the new and improved SCORE. Okay.
Nice. Nice. We're not going to follow that one up, but thank you, Donnatella. Excellent. Well, we come to the hour. And I want to thank both of you guys. You've been a blessing to the Brooklyn community and above. Thank you so much. And Next week, we'll be back.
Ooh, will we? Next week is, oh, that's going to be exciting time because that's Labor Day weekend, right?
That's true.
Yeah, so there will be a lot going on. Look at your eyes. You got a date for Labor Day Friday? All right. Will you be here? Will we have I'm looking at your face. Labor Day weekend. I don't know. There's a lot going on.
That is correct. That is correct. Let me not put my foot in my mouth.
Oh, but we'd have to do something because we need to let Community Cuts know if September 4th, all the details. So work something out. Be exciting.
Yes. So with that being said, I want to say good night to both of you. And
I do.
Thank you so much for being
Another
a part.
brother.
Yes, yes. Yes, my brother. Thank you both. Thank you both.
Okay. Yay. That was fun. We have to have those verbal fisticuffs more.
Good for you. It should be. We should have